I think we are live. Hello. Let me get my other screen caught up. Can you guys hear us okay? It says we're live. We should be live. The CB Slinger. The question is, are you ready for us? When aren't we ready for you guys?
Always. Always.
Always. Your phone before we get into trouble. Hello there, everybody. Okay, you can hear us perfect. I hope that's what that means, because Amber and I are in the room together tonight. And you need to no, do the deal on the side. The doohickey on the side. And then pull this down. That should be. She's having technical difficulties on her phone.
I got it.
Okay,
I got it.
we should be fine. Good night. So everybody can hear us because Amber and I are in the same room, which is pretty awesome. You guys are not active in the chat. We need some proof of life, folks. Proof of life. Lord, double trouble. Correct, Amanda. Hello, Uncomfortably Numb. Hello, KW. Got a lot of folks in the chat. Oh, wait, I am on. Yes, just making sure. Somebody said they could hear us, but I just wanted to be sure. Trying to be careful here. Apparently, with CB laughing at me, we are hearable. So CB's with us, and Bianca, thank you for being a wrench tonight, one of our mods. Amanda, I don't know that I recognize your name. I'm glad you're here, and if you know we're double trouble, you know at least one of us. Yep, thank you for being mod. And let me see who else is in here. Cat Mom, Texas Blue Bonnets. I think I saw Margaret in here. I missed somebody. That's pretty much. Oh, look, Carrie Moody's in the chat. Look who's all looking all pretty tonight. Amber is the Barbie doll. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure she's here. Pretty, she's so Carrie's in the chat tonight. She's not feeling super hot, not like cute hot, but like she just doesn't feel good enough to be on camera necessarily. So, and then Kathy, hey, I need to watch that private chat better, or just watch this part of the stage. Okay, now can we hear you though?
You can hear me.
Nope, we can't hear you. Oh, again. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Oldies. It shows I have your mic on. It looks like her mic settings are fine on my part. Are we doing this again, Kathy? One more time? I know you can hear me. We can't hear you. But we're not muted.
My mic is on.
What does this mean? Figure it out. You can't hear her, Tara, but okay, so the group can hear you. Oh my God. Hold on a second. For the love of Saint Mother.
The group can hear me.
Say something.
Hello?
Okay, so I still can't hear her. I beg. Pronto. I got you on mute. I cannot hear. Well, Cash, that sounds like your problem, sir or madam. Pretty sure it's a sir. I'm glad to see Cash though. Do you have that same issue, Kathy, with the with that where you have to tell the computer to do the fancy dancy Wizard of Ozzy thingy?
I did. It's good.
It's good on your part? Yeah, that pretty much solves all. That's all I had. Let me see. Hold on. That's our audio. Carrie, figure it out. Why can't Carrie? You guys can hear her in the chat, right? It's just us. Let me check my settings one more time. So, I cannot. Okay, so but we can't hear her.
That doesn't even make sense.
Oh wait, hold on. Never mind. Crap. Now we have problems. So, hold on a second. I know what it is. Okay, I have to do some rearranging. Can Can you guys hear me now? Kathy, say something.
Can you hear me?
Why is that not working still? That should work. I turned Kathy up on my end. Oh, for the love of St. Croix.
That's our microphone.
That's our microphone, yeah. Or even not default. Hold on. Let's try that. Kathy, can you say anything?
Hello?
Carrie, change your live chat at the top. You have a option at the top of the live chat to change it from live to top chat. Oh my gosh. I cannot understand.
Unmute her.
She muted herself. Hold on.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear Kathy. Oh my gosh. Kathy is not a word, but Kathy. Oh my gosh.
Hold on a second.
Let me reroute that back through. This is not supposed to be happening. Like this
I
is
wish I
supposed to be a lot
had
better than that.
headphones in this vehicle.
Hold on. We'll get this show started. Hold on a second. Still can't see Katie. No, Katie's in the dark. The hell is she doing?
She's in the car.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But they're both muted. Is that?
Yeah, they're both
That's-
muted,
So
so
that's they muted themselves.
it looks like it, yeah.
Okay.
Can't unmute your guests because they chose to mute. You guys are muted.
Like I can barely hear you.
There
And
we go.
you guys go ahead and
Good freaking
Okay.
Lord. I about had all I could take. Oh. Hi, everybody.
let me try to adjust my stuff.
Katie, are you back in the closet again? Kathy muted Katie blind. Yes. Okay, so welcome to SheNanigans. Holy crap, it took us long enough to get the technical details, and we're 7.5 minutes in. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's a
It's all up from here, right?
God, I hope so. Only if we stand up. All right, well, welcome to SheNanigans. I'm Tara. Amber's in the house with me. She came up from Oklahoma. She's seen her son, and I was just an extra added bonus. Kathy's with us. Hi, Kathy.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Yes, I'm glad you're here. We missed you last couple times.
Thanks. I've been busy.
Kids get in the way. I'm getting tired of it. I just tell mine to get out and go away, and I'm not supportive of them anymore. They keep coming right back. And then Katie's with us. She's both blind and mute right now, so we'll come back to her. But she knows what we're doing tonight. And then Carrie's in the chat. She's not feeling too super hot, so she's going to be in the chat hanging out. She's got a wrench, so she means business. She will bust you upside the head if you do something silly, but nobody has yet. So those wrenches are almost useless, but at the same time, kind of powerful. So we're going to hop right into this. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about experiences from parenting hell. And we had Katie on the line. Amber was with us. Carrie was with us. We talked about some of the stuff we went through in our divorces and some of the things that you struggle with, like trying to keep the right mentality in front of your kids, not to say anything ruthless about your ex or be nasty about them, and some of the peculiar things that we went through with that. And so I know Kathy's got a lot of great stories. I use great in a very inappropriate way, but I know her ex. And so we're just going to kind of pick up where we left off. We did have somebody send in something anonymous that they wanted us to add to tonight's discussion, which was regarding the children's behavior during divorcing and the child custody, if their behavior worsened, if it was okay, if there was a need for professional help to the child, what is and what's not good, what happened, what didn't happen. And so we're going to kind of add that into the discussion, and then we're going to try to watch the chat. Let's see. I know there's couple things going on in the chat, but I'm going to put the link up in the panel. Let me pull that link real quick. So what this link is for is, if you are not familiar, that link I'm putting in the panel right now, in the chat rather. You can come up and talk with us. You don't have to have your camera on, but you come up and talk with us about your experiences. Or if you just want to contribute to the conversation, you don't have to have personal experiences to contribute to the conversation. It can help, but maybe you've got some revelations that we might not have otherwise thought of. So with that being said, and I'll put that in the chat a few times. I think, let me see if I can also put up, where is the banner? There's a little banner doohickey thingy that I can put up that shows, there it is, the little ticker. So the ticker is in there. So if you want to connect with us after the show or anonymously, that's a burner number, you can do that as well. And so with that, let's just kind of kick it off. Kathy, you can kind of give us a rundown of some of your parenting hell, or what led to your parenting hell. And you can be as, you already know, you can be as open as you want or not. That's totally up to you.
Where do I start?
The beginning will take far too long.
Yeah, it will.
Stick around and let it go.
I wouldn't say that I've had parenting hell, so to speak. I've had co-parenting hell, if that makes sense.
That was the big base. Yeah, that was part of the argument last week, was
Yeah.
the difference in co-parenting and parenting and all that great fun jazz.
Co-parenting is pretty much non-existent with my kid's father, and it makes it extremely hard to do anything. Gosh, I've got so many things running through my head. I don't even know where to go with it.
Well, you've got an unusual situation, I think. It's one that Amber relates to, where your custody situation is atypical, quite honestly.
It is. So my custody arrangement started when I filed for divorce, which was 50-50 shared custody down the middle, no child support, all of that. It was great for a while. But then as soon as I met my now husband and started having blended family situations with him, is where things got kind of messy with my ex, and the control jumped up about 10 notches from the other side, and the manipulation as well. So I dealt with a 9-year-old boy who's now 14, who basically was told by his father that, just call me if you don't want to be somewhere. Just call me if you don't like what mom's doing. Just call me and I'll come get you. I'll come rescue you. And it made it very, very hard for me to stick ground on some of the things I was trying to parent on, rules, how long to be on the internet or a game, or, it just made it very difficult. And every time I would enforce something, he would sneak a phone call into dad crying that he doesn't want to be with me, wants dad to come get him, because dad conditioned him to being okay.
Right.
So I have 2 other kids. One is 19. So I had custody of her primarily, and I won't get into that because that's another story in itself. But right now we are still co-parenting, or whatever you call it, my 14-year-old son. And it's just, communication is just terrible. We can't decide on anything together. Everything's got to be an argument or a battle or a control situation. It's really complicated. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, it affects my son. And he's the one that suffers. I could care less, but my son is the one that suffers. And hopefully one of these days he'll grow up and truly understand the things that he's about to learn about his dad. I don't want to say too much, but he's got four older brothers and sisters, or one sister, 3 older brothers. that all have had the same experience with their dad, and it's just a matter of time with Luke. But I do know that their dad loves them. I do know that he wants to be part of their lives. Sometimes he has a very poor way of showing it, and it makes it really hard on the other parent. So I have a lot of stories that Tara and Katie and Amber, you've heard a little bit about it, but I don't have enough time to go through all my stories. It's a constant struggle. That's all I'll say. Every day.
I think a lot of people can relate to the constant struggle situation with your situation, with any of our situations, really, because the anonymous submission tonight with the children's behavior. I know your children have exhibited some of that behavioral change because of what they ended up learning. They were conditioned and manipulated, and then they've had to kind of break away from that with that harsh realization of how their father is. It's not that he is trying to hurt them, but he's doing what he believes is the right thing to do. That doesn't mean it's right nor healthy, for that matter.
Yeah. So the learned behaviors is what that is, and my older kids can speak to that more than my younger son can, just because they recognize the patterns and the behaviors in themselves. And they, one of my kids talks to me about it, and he's like, I know when I'm starting to behave those ways, and now I'm old enough to understand it, and I can stop it. Like, he's matured enough to know that about himself, to try to change it for his outcome. But minors, young teens, young children, they don't know better. And so unfortunately, they just have to go through life, grow up, and figure it out on their own. And you just have to be there to support them. That's all we can do.
Mm-hmm. You made a good point too. Like, they always eventually figure it out. I mean, the whole time that we spend raising them and having to deal with that other parent, and we go through with that, and the only solace that you have is knowing that one day your kid's going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out. Who was manipulating them? Who was the good parent? Who was the bad parent? Or, I mean, there's usually good on both sides and bad on both sides. Like, it just happens, but they figure it out. And so, I mean, now that my kid's an adult, he's figured out, everything that I was having to deal with when he was growing up. And I mean, and Luke will be the same way, I mean, just like you said, he's got older brothers, and they're figuring it out. He's gonna figure it out too. And when that happens, like, the way that your relationship with your child changes when they finally come to that realization. I mean, Tyler and I have always been very close. Like, don't get me wrong, but so, like, almost liberating when your child comes to you and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe what my dad put you through and put me through."
Yeah.
Like, yes, somebody finally sees this.
The heartbreaking thing about it for my situation is 2 of my children don't have relationships with their dad because of it, because of all of the trauma they went through. And it's heartbreaking. It's extremely heartbreaking, because you want nothing more for your children to have a relationship with both parents.
Yes.
And they need to have that. They need it. And it's truly heartbreaking watching my kids have to go through that every day. So one of my kids, he's kind of written it off like it's part of my life. I'm fine. But one of them it's a daily struggle as well for her. And she longs for that relationship from her dad. And it's just a letdown over and over again. And she did have behavior issues when she was in middle school. Well, I'd say late middle school, early high school, where, I mean, she wasn't, it wasn't like acting out or anything, but she just, her temper, it was the temper that got away from her. And it's that learned behavior. And you just have to say, hey, it's happening again. You need to check yourself. And they do eventually. But it's hard also to be the parent that's their constant, because they expect so much out of you because they're not getting it from the other parent. So that's hard expectation to live up to, because you want to do everything. You want to be everything for them because you are all they have as a parent. So it's hard to live up to that expectation sometimes. And I used to be the kind of parent, right after I got divorced, I'm like, my kids suffered through so much, I'm just going to let them do whatever they want to do. And that backfired really quickly. But man I'm married to today kind of checked me and put me in my place and said, you can't do that, because they're not learning from you if you let them get away with everything. So I had to put my foot down on a lot of things I wouldn't have otherwise. And so we're all growing. We're all learning this process with each other and trying to get through it together. But it's just super hard. I don't wish it on anybody. I really don't. Katie, mute yourself, sister.
Where are you driving, Katie?
Yeah, I was just getting, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because I couldn't hear you guys, but I have found like I fixed it. So I've been listening to everything and I can relate to so much. And a couple of things that I wanted to say is, yeah, because most of my kids are adult children, and they may very well, in my situation anyway, very much realize how the other parent acts and how it has affected them and their behaviors and this, that, the other. And as much as I want them to talk to me about it or admit, don't hold your breath. Like, I hope that happens for everyone. I mean, in my case, I I hope that they internalize it, I guess, and hope that they will speak about it. But I don't see that coming in the near future. I just try to parent and hold them close as I always have and move forward. But I do think as moms, like you really want that. You really want that validation or that communication, that closeness with your, especially adult children, to kind of recognize maybe everything that had happened and everything that you didn't want to subject them to, and you recognize it in their behaviors, which I do, especially my sons, my older sons. But that's all I mean, I'm not going to expect them to communicate anything to me because for me, that ship has sailed, and I'm not going to pressure them to communicate anything with me at that. Like, sometimes, silence, and I don't know, I don't really need them to verbalize it so much.
Yeah.
I observe a lot.
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to say, I heard Kat, which I can relate to Kathy's story, because I really feel like your daughter is like very similar to my daughter,
Yeah, we talked about it.
in a lot of ways. Maybe they're hanging out right now. I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe they're working. I know. Yeah, who knows? But you mentioned the tempers, and I just feel like sometimes that comes along with teens. Like, I don't know. I kind of, there were certain behaviors that I saw that I knew was probably because of a different environment. I couldn't say 100%, but I did know that teens are assholes. Sorry, Ashton. Sorry, he's he's not a teen yet, but he's a preteen. But they're all kind of a-holes, and so they, they're unpredictable. They're angry. They're emotional. They're this. They're that, or whatever. And so I'm like, it's like a wild card. You don't know where it's coming from or why or what.
Yeah, the temper that I was relating to or speaking about was more tempers about, I would say more arguments about being right or getting your way or being in control or having the last word, which are teens too, right? Teens do that. But
yeah,
when you have an ex-partner, ex-spouse or whatever, that's what you dealt with on a constant daily basis and your kids were witnesses to it, there's 100% chance that they're going to adopt that behavior. Whether it's coming from their own teen self or not, it's just, for me, it just was too close to home. Like you know what I mean? It just it brings back, there triggers that we talk about all the time, right? It's a trigger. Even in my marriage, I've been married now a year to a wonderful man, and I have my insecurities because of the situations I was in before, that there are triggers, same thing with my kids. They have their own triggers that they have to deal with, but that's what I was talking about when I mentioned tempers, because I know Katie, especially my daughter, she can have a raging female temper.
I think we call that PMS, no?
Yeah. So, but there's different things that you can see in your own child that you know where that's coming from. You know them enough to know where that's coming from.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That's my elder son, and I'm sure he can hear me. He's only a wall on the other side, but we've had this conversation. In his teen years, he was rather aggressive and very temperamental, very high temper. You would get, he'd get mad and there was no turning back, and couldn't figure it out because in my household, we didn't yell and scream. We didn't have those kind of things. We stopped that early on. And so as I got to, would have discussions with his father, and I would hear his father's temper, which he had for a long time. There's explanation for it, but not justification. Those are two different concepts. I realized that my son was under the impression he was still mad about something because his dad had told him repeatedly, "You're upset about the divorce. You're mad about the divorce. The divorce impacts you." He would try telling both the boys that. My younger child would be like, "I don't even remember you two together. I don't even remember the divorce. I was too young." And our older boy had just a few memories. And he was a big part of the reason why I found the strength to divorce. But he didn't understand why he had a temper, because he had no temper growing up. He just wasn't that kid who would get mad and upset at things. He's just like, okay, that's how it is, until his dad convinced him, you are angry. You have to be angry. We are divorced. And that caused those behavioral problems. In which case it confused him because he didn't feel like he was angry, but because he'd been told it, he was conditioned to believe it. And that led him down a very, very dark path in his high school years, where he wanted to make some decisions that would be permanent and hurtful to a lot of people. I mean, he and I had a big, long conversation about several of them, actually, where he told me the only thing that kept me from making that permanent and final decision was you, Mom. And he was the most aggressive towards me when he was angry. But he also knew that Mom would be there for him no matter how he acted. So I think, a long way to this point is, I think our kids will act the most aggressive and the most hateful to the one they feel will love them no matter what. It's that feeling that that people believe in unconditional love. It's that feeling of there's unconditional love. I can treat this person as evil as I possibly can, because if I treat that one the same way, that one won't love me. But if I do it to that one, they'll forgive me and they'll still love me and we'll get through it.
Oh, that's that, Tara. I have to say that you put that like perfectly, because I have had conversations like this with my husband as far as my older two boys, and I've been in tears before. Like they've been just mean and said things, and I've had to point out to them they would not act that way towards their father. But no, I am the one that, and Aaron has said, yeah, they feel more comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. They
Yeah.
love, and I'm like, as much as, and I agree, that is true. But in the moment, it's still heartbreaking. I mean,
Well,
it's like,
and I'll share this, and it's not fun to share. My older boy was physical with me, and he looks back now and he's mortified that he would ever put his hands on me. He's absolutely still ashamed, and I've told him it's not like it's fine, but I've forgiven you. I forgave you when it happened. I know why you were doing it. If you'd done it to anybody else, they'd have dropped you like a bad habit. I understood where you're coming from. It still hurt, quite literally,
yeah,
but I got it at the time, and he still has a temper. Usually he's playing that stupid ass flipping game of his, but okay, whatever. It's the only time he really does have a temper. He gets frustrated like anybody else, but he works on it all the time. And I truly think that's why they treat us the worst, is because they trust us and love us the most. They feel as though no matter what happens, they can always come home. And that's not just physically, it's mentally as well. Because moms are the I say this, not our mothers not included, clearly. Mothers are typically the mental home. When we go home, that's where they're at. So it's not easy in the moment. It's not those deepest, darkest moments that create the strongest bonds are not the most fun at all.
yeah, it is not. And very well said. And what I said during that time when I was going through, well, I've been through it several times, and don't want to go through it again. I'm sure I will. But a support system for moms that are like, I really said to a couple of my friends, like, my God, there needs to be a support group for moms that are going through this, because
Now,
it is really hard.
it's shenanigans. This is it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Well, thank God. Yes. Thank God.
That's the whole reason for that very thing that you pointed out, Katie, that this is such an important space to have, be it Facebook or in real life. But that's why in real life we were doing it's like there's other people who need this space to have these conversations and share these things, because nobody's alone in this. There's not a single parent, male or female, that's alone in that.
Yeah.
And Carrie, I wish you'd just come up and hide in the background so you can manage the chat on this side too, because it's a highlight crap. I'll just try to keep up from here. But even with my kids having only my elder son really had the difficulties. My daughter has been learning about her father as we go. It's a different scenario probably, but I don't think the boys did have a little bit of counseling actually when they were little. I did take them into counseling with our church. Back then I was attending church, and I felt it necessary to give them a space to try to express themselves somewhere. It was not them with the church counselor, but it was all of us together just having a typical normal conversation. All they saw were crayons and coloring books, and they just went to go color, and that was it. So it was not affected. They were distracted. So they really weren't bothered by the divorce at the time because they were little. They were 3 and 5. So for them, they're like, now they'd seen some things in their mind. They're like, you guys, even my 5-year-old was like, you guys should not be together. Like clearly you two should not be in the same room. So my 5-year-old, who's my elder boy, said that because he saw his dad put his hands on me. So I don't, and my daughter's never had any kind of counseling for the divorce or the co-parenting, the dual parenting, or the dual parenting, DUEL, DUAL, however. So, but what about anybody on any of the Kathy, Katie, Amber, or anybody in the chat? And I'm going to put the invite back in the chat for those who do want to share experiences like that. Did you guys ever use counseling for your kids?
I tried it for myself. I tried 2 different therapists, and both I was very disappointed with, especially the second one. I don't think she was listening to me. Didn't take what I was saying seriously. So I felt like it was a waste of time. So I haven't had great experiences with counseling, but I have recommended to my kids that they look into that for themselves, my older kids especially, that they've seen the most. They've been witness to most. So they're not interested. So I'm not going to force that on them. When they are ready, they're ready. They may not ever want to. Sometimes I'm the therapist in my own house. You know?
Like that sometimes.
So, they
a bad
come to me,
thing.
especially my daughter. She comes to me. She tells me everything. Some things I wish she didn't, but she tells me everything. And we don't talk about the past very much unless it comes up in another conversation, and it just, draws attention to the conversation for that reason. But no, not on this end. I had counseling when I was younger, at a church, Tara, and later found out that pastor was molesting other kids he was seeing at the church.
Outstanding.
We stopped that pretty quickly when I was probably 10, 11. So I don't remember how old I was. I was going through some stuff. So I probably won't look into churches again.
We'll have that discussion on a later SheNanigans. And we will be covering that because I have personal experiences in that arena. What about, I don't remember Rylan ever getting.
Actually, yeah, a couple of times. Yeah. So the therapist that he started seeing when he was a teenager, he actually still sees on and off now. He really likes him. But when, like, the first time that I got Rylan seeing a therapist was actually, he was in kindergarten. He was having an absolute meltdown because his dad was telling him that that I have chosen the side of the devil and that I was going to die. And of course, I mean, a 5-year-old's brain cannot comprehend this. So I couldn't take him to a therapist that we had to pay for or put through insurance because my son was on his father's insurance. So I had to be sneaky about this. So I actually went to the school and I was like, hey, who can I talk to? Because my son is actually dealing with something really crazy with his dad right now. And I need him to be able to talk to somebody else about it. And the school that he went to was great. They actually got me in touch with the school counselor, and he saw the school counselor on a weekly basis for a little while. And it was super helpful, super helpful. I mean, young minds, when you tell them that their parent is evil and going to die, I mean, who does that?
Your ex does.
That? Yeah. But I mean, still, so sometimes I understand sometimes therapy doesn't help, but especially if they're little like that and they're dealing with something really out of the ordinary with the other parent and they need somebody to kind of steer them in a different direction when they don't know which parent to listen to, I would absolutely suggest even just a little bit of therapy just to give them somebody to talk to.
I think that's the thing is that I do a lot of coaching and mentoring. And I've talked to a couple of therapists about, do I go after my license or not? The decision's been vehemently no, not just no, but hell no. But I think that's the thing is there's a difference in talking to somebody who is going to be your alliance versus your supporter. Those are two different things, right? Mm-hmm. And finding somebody that your child can talk to that'll just listen to them and talk with them at their level. Unfortunately, therapists and counselors, anybody who is licensed and regulated can only do so much. They're bound by what they've been taught to do and they're trained to do. So some of their methods have, they're limited on what their methods can be to reach that child because they have to be condoned methods. And so it can get kind of tricky in that arena, I think. I think if you just, the most important, the biggest component to therapy and counseling is active listening versus active labeling, active diagnosing, active treatment. There's nothing more therapeutic than just opening up and unbottling or unburying or just bearing your soul to somebody without them saying, "Oh my God, you're such a this, that, and the other," and versus saying, "Wow, that must have been really hard for you. What else goes along with that? What else did you experience?" Versus, "How did that make you feel?" Well, I just flipping told you how it made me feel. I'm clearly upset. I don't want to go through the steps. I want for somebody to just talk. And that's what I did with with my kids. We just talked. We openly talked. If you're mad at your dad, that's okay. If you're mad at me, that's okay too. But my kids also had the opportunity to choose to go back and forth. We had the parenting plan, but they were not bound by that, which is why I put that up in the Facebook and the community poll. Is with the parenting plan, my kids were never pressured to go back and forth, creating that feeling, that sense of, I don't want to. Why are you making me go? Because that adds to the behavioral issues. And so for my kids, they were never forced to do that because I wanted them to choose to be a part of it. And for the most part, they were. There's a few times that Aaron, my younger boy, is like, today is not dad's day. I'm not doing it. I don't feel it. I got a bad feeling. And I wouldn't make him. That would cause a fight. We try to have those conversations about, why don't you want to go? Let's walk through this. And he's like, I'm just not mentally feeling it. And his dad would get mad and say, if Aaron doesn't go, Austin can't go either. So Austin got the rejection. And that happened a few times. And so that kind of ties into the behavioral thing, is where there are times that your kids didn't want to go with the other parent on their scheduled time. And how did they react if you made them go? Did that add to the behavioral issues for both sides? If they didn't have to go, did that improve the behavioral issues?
Yeah.
Well, I have, sorry.
Go ahead, Katie.
Well, I was just going to say, you mentioned, so I don't know if you remember this, but my older sister, who I know that you've heard about, she is a licensed marriage and family therapist. And so that's part of anyway. I've heard a lot, know a lot, and all of that, and I'll just put a pin in it for now, but that's, yeah. Anyway, and I was going to play devil's advocate here, because I know personally, I'm used to my feelings getting hurt by my kids. I think every mom is. I don't know. I just grow to expect it. And I was the same way. We had a plan that we tried to go forward with. When your kids can drive back and forth, and we lived somewhat close together, so there was, and they really stuck to the plan. But if they didn't, it was fine. We tried to communicate, and then they would find their self. I would find them at my house more often than not, and I really didn't question it so much. I would ask, but I didn't pressure them. But in my mind, I'm thinking, because there was a point where I was totally broken because of something I chose to do with my oldest. And I don't regret it 1 minute, but if our boys or kids or girls or whatever chose to just stay with their dad more often than with you, that would be hurtful, I would imagine. I'm trying to flip the coin, because I know that I've been there. It would be hurtful, and I'm not quite sure how we would deal with that, I guess. I know how I did, that I pushed it, so.
Well, that was the thing, is if there was a random day because I used to live 2 blocks from my ex, the boys' dad, and they had to walk by his house on the way home. And if they were late from school, I knew it meant they stopped by their dad's house. I wasn't too concerned. Or if they'd be like, hey, I know you made dinner, Mom, but I'm going to go up the street to Dad's and have dinner. All right, not my favorite thing, because I made a bunch of dinner for the whole family, but
sure.
Go ahead. Whatever. Or and we were never up against, even with their dad 2 blocks away, we were never up against the whole, okay, you need to be disciplined. They're like, I'm going to go down to my dad's, because that was not the thing. Their dad was really good about, you have to be here for this because that's her time. You have to be here for that because that's my time. But when he got unexpected time, he was fine with it. But he was probably the more, there's a difference between being assertive and aggressive. And he was the more aggressive parent, and I was the more assertive one. And so the difference being that when you're aggressive, you get what you want without considerations for how you are impacting others, while assertive is getting what you want while being considerate of how you impact others. And for that reason, their dad's relationship with the boys and the dad, their relationship was a lot of work on all their parts, a lot of work, to the point where my younger boy cut his dad off for 4 years because he got too aggressive with him. But that was the nature. So it's not as though, but then I wasn't doing the whole mind shenanigans game of, your mother is this, she's the evil devil. Your mother is that, she's too much. And I didn't, there with their dad, I'm like, that's just who your dad is. Take it or leave it. That's totally fine. That's just not for me. But it's so hard though, right? Because Katie, I think I'd be heartbroken if my boys were like, I'm gonna go with dad and you suck and I don't like you. I'd be like, I have breastfed you, you little bastard, and you hurt me during that process. I deserve some sort of compensation. I would be hurt. It would be like, I break my back for you, and here you are being a little turd and wanting to go see your dad. But I think I was in the role, but I also came from a couple of parents that I'm like, couldn't you two divorce, get away from each other? I couldn't beg enough for these people to get away from one another, but I didn't want to be around one parent. So I understood the emotional issues that can accompany being around a parent that you don't feel safe with. I can't believe for a second your kids didn't feel safe with you, Katie, but I know one of mine didn't, which is why for 4 years I would not force him to go see his dad, because he had a right to not feel physically safe with his dad. So
for sure. Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that I was resulting to if my younger boy was like, not today, Satan, not today. I'm like, sorry, Satan. He said no. Like, I can't help you. Like this is why he feels this way. And then Satan would call me Satan. I'm like, all right, that's cool, whatever. And then reject the other boy. But things are better and fine now because they've all matured, all of them to a certain degree. But or with my daughter, she's a 14-year-old girl. We're social. And half the time it's like, I'd go see dad, but I'm gonna go, hang out and spend the night with my girlfriends. I'm like, make sure you let your dad know. It's not my job to tell him that you want to have a social life. And she does. And he's pretty, what's the word?
I have so many words.
Are we going negative or are we going positive? Like there's a lot of
factual, Katie, factual. He's conflict adverse. He does not do conflict. He's like, whatever, okay, go hang out with your friends. So he's completely conflict adverse. He was the easiest divorce I've ever had in my life. Not that I'm a pro, but I've done a couple.
Well, you sound like it. I don't know.
I've seen others through their divorces. I'm just saying, I can save you thousands. I feel like the progressive commercials, save thousands of dollars by bundling your divorces with me.
Dude, that's awesome. Yes, you should.
I've helped several go through theirs without having attorneys involved.
Oh my God, you could totally make some money on this. Like, why don't you?
My old business partner tried it, but he engineered the crap out of it. And Chris, if you're listening, sir, it was over engineered. We could have done it simply, but.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love it.
This is why we get together and do these shenanigans, because I'm But that was what was in the chat. And when I posted that on Facebook, somebody I posted a poll saying, no, I don't make them go, which most people went with that one. I don't make my children go where they don't feel safe. A couple are like, nope, they have to go. That's the plan. And somebody made the comment of, they have to go. That's the plan. Smile at them every time you just get them some ice cream on the way. And that's like, wow, I see that. And I know this individual personally. I know their children personally. Their children are extremely wonderful, beautiful, brilliant people. And what he went through in his divorces, because he's been through 2, He would never admit to it, and I think his ex would, because I know her personally as well. Um, he was he was very gracious in his divorces. So he always put the mother first, even when they were divorced. He always did the birthdays with the family after divorce and the Christmases. He always did holidays together to keep that sense of camaraderie for the kids' sake. And the kids figured out who their parents were. I mean, their flaws and their high end qualities. But in the end, it's like I told this person, no, I could never make my children go and buy them an ice cream on the way. I just that I wanted my children to identify healthy boundaries, even if it was against a parent. As hard and as shitty as that can be, knowing that it could be me they placed a boundary against. I want them to have boundaries they feel safe and okay with.
Yes, totally agree with that. I mean, I would never have forced, nor did I ever, like, if there's a safety issue, some type of issue that you need to step in as a mom and say no, and kind of get, yeah, I'm all for that. I 100% would do that. This particular issue was just because my oldest, like a junior in high school at the time, I think, was just not telling me the truth, not responding to me, not communicating. And just simple things that I was shocked all of a sudden. And I'm not quite sure if it's because of the girl he was dating or what was going on, but I had kind of had enough of it. And, I basically put his clothes in a bag and took him to his dad's doorstep and text, because his dad would not step in. He should have told. So my oldest decided to just stay at his dad's and not respond to me, not come back, because he knew what he did. He was being dishonest. He was being disrespectful, but his dad wouldn't step in and say anything. He was just, happy that his son was there. And I was in a rock and a hard place, and I was not happy about it. And I lost it. And I was like, this shit is not good. I'm not going to put up with this. And if no one's going to back me on this, then, and I regretted my decision for a short period of time to myself, but I packed his clothes and I drove him the 9 miles or whatever, and I put him on his dad's doorstep. I text my son, and I said, if you can't respect me enough to respond to this and do this and act this way, then obviously you want to be here and not at my house. So there's some clothes on the porch for you. I mean, so it was hard. Like, I cried. I didn't see him for a month, and that seems like an eternity. And I cried. Aaron will tell you, I just bawled my eyes out because I missed him so much. But I'm like, this is not okay. And if you've got a parent on the other side that is not going to help you out, then that's what I did. And eventually I had some
with Kylie, you remember.
Yep.
With her, where it wasn't good, and she was being very dismissive of my requirements and didn't want to follow rules and whatever. She was 16 and she would run to her dad's. This was, in a span of about 6 months, and enough was enough. I put my foot down and I said, out. If you want to go over there so badly, then you can live there. And I know what it feels like, Katie. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Is kick them out. But it lasted 3 months. So, and she was right back where she was with her dad. So it sucks.
It does suck in the moment and the time, but it's overall, it's what needs to be done. I think it's better for all relationships, for us as moms, for the kids, for everything all around. But it's hard to make that decision. And I can't say I'm impulsive, although I can be impulsive, but I have
Her?
Sometimes an anger issue. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't put up with bullshit. Like you can push me so far, and then I'm like, fuck that. No, I don't think so. Not today. No.
But maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, and I just like,
Try me tomorrow.
I know. I know.
I was scrolling through a website today trying to find some Christmas presents, and I saw this coffee cup, Katie, that is that sums you up in one little coffee cup slaying.
Send me the image. I'll get the image and I'll put it up on the.
Well, I took a screenshot of it. Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Awesome. So I'm doing that. Patrick and Cash and company. I put a link in the chat. You guys are talking about manuals for co-parenting, single dadding it. And as it would turn out, my former business partner, Chris Batchelor, wrote the Dad's Divorce Guide, the practical and essential guide for men getting divorced and successfully co-parenting. That book is very much geared towards men not being screwed over by the vindictive woman type. And I will tell you from personal experience that none of the women of the SheNanigans crew or the mods are of the vindictive nature, but there are things out there that you should read and then improve upon them with your experiences. And if you don't know how to write, Patrick, I am a professional writer. I can ghostwrite for you in a heartbeat. I'm looking for a new job. Crap, Montreal might be listening. I'm looking for additional income.
Oh my God, that makes me laugh.
I got a quarter for you.
Considering I'm supposed to be in Montreal right now, and the reason I'm not is completely unbelievable. And it is a real story. I have an injured child downstairs. She dislocated her shoulder over the weekend in band, her second injury. And I did not tell my boss. I'm like, all I told her was like, my daughter dislocated her shoulder. I'm not coming to Montreal. She's like, oh my God, I hope she's okay. And we talked on Monday. I'm like, okay, yes, her shoulder's dislocated. It's back in place. It's injured and damaged. She's like, well, what happened? I'm like, if I tell you, you can't fire me right now. I need you to wait before you fire me. But it was banned. She's like, again? I'm like, I know. It's my kid. Yeah, in band, Cash. Yes, there's. I am the creator of SheNanigans. The fuck do you expect from my kid?
She was trying to lift a piano over her head.
I saw that and I was like, what the frick? Like, I played volleyball and softball and basketball, and I was hardcore aggressive, and I didn't dislocate anything. She must be like doing some hardcore shit.
We have a hold on, I can explain, but not justify. She was hard jamming out shit.
Like, she was mosh pitting it up, throwing something into the audio. I don't know what happened.
I can explain, but not justify. We have a condition. She's growing until she's done growing. She's long story short, her body's weak. She needs to be in swim this fall or this winter, sorry, that's hilarious. I'm gonna add that somehow to the chat. I don't know how I'm gonna do this yet, but
give her some calcium pills, multivitamins, push protein, whatever you have to do to
Well, until we have Ehlers-Danlos, it's a specific condition. And until she's done growing, she'll be prone to these kinds of issues. So I don't know if I need to look into it to see if they allow for handicapped vouchers for the car, just for her purposes.
I think you need to look into how to relocate a shoulder or another appendage, so you don't need to take her to the ER. You can just do it yourself.
It went back into place. It went back into place before we got to ER. She just had her rotator cuff is jacked up real bad right now. She's got about 2 months of physical therapy ahead of her. So
I had
mom pushing her too hard. Are you kidding? She was actually I can't believe I'm gonna say this out loud and embarrass her. I feel bad for her. She was actually performing in marching band when it happened. She was pushing a prop. So she went to push it and it knocked her shoulder out. When she stopped pushing it, her shoulder went back in. But like a champ, despite the immense pain, she was bawling and screaming, but she finished that performance, and then she was promptly walked off, where I got emergency phone calls of your daughter's and she's been hurt. So imagine being in the stands, you get a call that says your daughter's been hurt. Hey, looky there, Patrick came up. Hi, Patrick.
Hello. Can
This
y'all
is
hear
how
me?
you do it, folks. This is how you do it. You just hit that little link and you come up and we let you in. Good eye. I was gonna miss that.
I like the hat, and I like how y'all doing. Like, how y'all doing? Like, I love it. I love it.
Okay, my accent is like everybody else.
Hold on. Wait, Patrick, before you keep going, give me 3 seconds. Hold on. We can't see you. I can't see you. They
Oh, and he's got a cigar. Is that a cigarette, a cigar? What you got? I'm on my phone, so
It's a really long cigarette, it looks like.
yeah.
There he is. Nice to see you, Patrick.
Or is it like, a joint? Is that what it is? What is it?
I can't do medical marijuana because of the neurological medications that I'm on, mixed with my cardiological medications.
Oh goodness.
I take 600 medications a day, 3 times a day.
So, Patrick, you want to be on camera, correct? Because we can see you.
Yeah, that's fine. I
Okay,
see
just
that I'm on camera.
I
I don't know
mean,
how to see
we don't
chat.
get a good-looking guy on screen very often, so I'm just saying.
I don't know how to see. I don't know how to see chat.
Well, when you're on the phone, that's a different conundrum altogether.
I love it. Thank you for showing your face.
I'm glad you did too. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I go to bed at night hoping I don't wake up in the morning, but that's because it hurts to wake up.
Oh, don't say that. Oh my gosh.
Well,
You're
you just
killing me, Patrick.
Well, my doctor says that's normal.
Well, I'll pray. I'll positive thoughts for not waking up in pain.
When you fall, when you fall 90 feet off of the top of a windmill and hit the ground at 60 miles an hour
Oh my gosh.
Lordy.
on your face and your chest, everything hurts when you wake up.
I bet it does. So what'd you
And
come up for? What are you going to share with us?
okay, so as a person who's gone through the other side of the custody issues and things, um, a lot of people don't realize how it affects the kids.
Right.
Even when you don't even you don't even have to say or do things to each other for the kids to be affected. Just the, what do you call it? The sense in the air. The tension. We can feel the tension. I mean, I was born in Virginia on a Navy base, so I have 2 birth certificates. But he was in the military during in the 70s, and he came home, and we decided to surprise my mom and go pick her up at
Uh-oh.
church. Well, and I remember it to today. I can't remember 10 minutes ago, but I can remember that stuff because it's sketched in my brain from my damage. But my dad pulled up next to a car. Little did we know that in the back seat of that car was my mom and her professor.
Oh.
So
Oh, wow.
my dad almost killed them both.
Yeah.
Next day, my mom had us packed up. The next day, my mom had us packed up, and we were in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Kentucky, and went straight to Houston. And from that day on, was the worst days of my life because I looked just like my dad. So everything was taken out on me. And
I've heard of that before.
it was my fault because they were not married when she got pregnant with me. They only married because she was pregnant with me. And so it was my fault. And people don't realize it, we see all that. It sticks with us, even into adulthood.
Yes, I'm sure it does. You're not the only one I've heard of that. That seems to be a common theme. And if there is experience in the chat, please feel free to speak up. Where when you look like the parent that's been divorced from and you're treated so poorly, I hear that often, very often. And I think my son looks a lot like me, the one that separated from his father for 4 years. He looks a lot like me. And I guess until now, it didn't dawn on me that that might be part of the problem, is that he looks so much like me versus my older boy who does not look as much like me. So that's a very powerful phenomenon, and it's very unnerving. Do you think your mom was aware that that was part of her behavior towards you, part of the influence of her behavior towards you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, unfortunately, I was locked up when she died, but um, and I had to go. I got to go to the viewing, but I had to have snipers and everything else because even though I was only in county jail, there were death threats on me if I showed up. So from my family,
Oh, boy.
my family did not want me there. Um, sorry. But no, it's and then I no offense to you women and you moms, I have so much respect for y'all, but it's I mean, I know it's hard on single moms because all my exes, except for my son's mom, was single moms. They had kids, and I love them just like I do my own son. But all I ever heard from them was how hard it was being a single mom and how hard it was getting help. I mean, my son, when his mother left, was 16 months old, and
Wow.
never seen or heard from her since. And I was working on a ranch, and I had just had a vasectomy and everything. And my ranch job said, "You gotta go. You can't take a baby infant on a horse with you. You can't take them in the tractor with you."
As
Um,
much as you want to. Yeah. 'Cause
I
yeah.
did later. I did later on as he got older.
Oh, there you go.
We found another ranch, but at the point in time, it's too young for that. You can't put a car carrier. You can't put an infant seat on a horse, and rope off of it. So, um, and I mean, luckily I had friends that would watch him in the stands when I read, because I read bulls at the time, and so he got to go to the rodeos, 16 months old. But the hardest thing is there were times when we applied for food stamps, and they have changed because of uh, places like the Father's House, which came about in the 90s, um, fighting for dad's parental rights.
Mhm.
I got denied food stamps multiple times because they said that I wasn't supposed to have my kid, or where it said, where it used to say when you applied for food stamps on the paperwork, it said custodial or the mother's name, and then it would say absent father's name. Now, food stamp paperwork just says custodial parent, non-custodial parent, absent parent, whatever. It does not say mother or father. So I'd put the mother's name down and I'd leave the, absent father's name blank, because I wasn't absent. But I couldn't put my name as mother because at the bottom of food stamp paperwork, it used to say, I don't know if it does anymore, but it used to say, um, it is a federal document.
Mm-hmm.
Any falsification on it is a federal offense. So if I put my name under mother's name, I'd be committing fraud because I'm not the mother. So
Well, I am sorry you went through that because that is like,
when I had cancer 2 times, surgery took care of it. But when I had cancer, my son was like 8 years old. We lost everything, and shelters would not take us because, I mean, even family shelters, because they put the women and children on one side and they put the men in a big room with cots on another side. You can't have minors in with the men. And I can't sit there and just let some mom with kids take my kid. He can't be without me, you know. So it there's a lot more help for single moms than there was for single dads. It's gotten better in the last 20 years, but you know, there's a lot more help out there for single moms than there is for single dads. When I was raising my son, we got pulled over all the time because I was alone with a child. Um, in Montana, men did not get custody of children. This was in the early 2000s. My son was born in 2000. So, which thankfully, with my brain injuries and everything, I'm really glad about that because I can never forget how old my son is. I just look at what year it is.
Yeah.
I forget my name sometimes and where I'm at, but I can't forget how old he is because it's 2024. He's 24. I wish my age was easy to figure that one out. But no, it's and there's a lot of issues that moms go through, and that I mean, it's all over the news that I am against, and it's because what about fathers' rights? Because like I'm sorry, abortion. My son. I mean, I didn't have any. I mean, I wouldn't have had any say if his mom had decided. But when I had a vasectomy, I had to have the doctor had to have my wife's permission to perform a vasectomy on me.
Correct. Yeah.
Now my son is half of me. You do a DNA test on him, and he comes back half mine. You know, so that's my problem with abortion is don't we get a say? Because and I've had a bunch of women tell me, well, men don't raise their kids; they don't take responsibility. Well, there are some of us out there. There's a lot more of us out there, and people know that take the responsibility and raise the children. And I'm glad she didn't decide that with him because I've had 24 great, wonderful years with him. I wouldn't trade it for nothing.
We'll have to have a conversation on shenanigans about the vasectomy versus abortion. It's a very interesting conversation. You make a very good point. You're not the only one I know that had to have his wife sign off on the vasectomy. So we'll have to have that conversation later. So I'll
Don't get
definitely
the
schedule
option,
that.
but we don't get the option to sign off on the abortion.
That's why it's an interesting conversation to have. So I definitely think we'll have to go down that rabbit hole on a different day. It's a great
if
one.
we're going to get our tubes tied, we have to have our husband's permission.
That's true.
I was going to say that too. Wives, if they want to get their tubes tied or get a hysterectomy, which because of my cancer, I had to have a male hysterectomy. I don't have any tubes, but if you want to get a hysterectomy or your tubes tied, you have to have your husband's permission. You have to have his sign off on it. So it's like, but you don't kill my kid.
Autonomy, but
Pardon?
is that everybody should just have bodily autonomy? I mean,
but I mean, and I mean, I'm not saying I do agree with the three exceptions, but when I was a kid, okay, we had a little old lady come in our school with a bag, and she showed us what sponges was. She showed us she had bananas and cucumbers with the condoms and stuff, and said, if you don't want to get pregnant, use these.
Well, and like I said, that'll be a
good for
great.
her.
Yeah, it's a great shenanigans conversation for a different night. But what you've been through, raising your kids, and your child you just have the one child, Patrick, the 24-year-old.
Well, no, I actually have a 23-year-old also.
Okay.
But I haven't seen her since she was 6 months old because when her mother left me and my son, my daughter was only about 5 months old. They're only 13 months old. She was about 3 months because they're only 13 months apart. So she was only 3 months old. And my ex took her with her because, well, she wanted the benefits. Okay, food stamps and all that. She went to Baker, Montana, took her to a babysitter so she could go out to a party at 7 o'clock at night. At that time, my son and I had moved to Texas, and we didn't live in Montana. We never did at that time. We moved to Texas. I had a job paying me $25 an hour doing industrial radiography. I was paying a babysitter 24 hours a day because sometimes I had to go out of town for 2 weeks, and that was expensive as hell. And then I got the notification that my ex-wife had taken my infant daughter to a babysitter's at 7 p.m. And 1 o'clock the next day, she still hadn't picked her up. Didn't drop off any diapers, didn't drop off any clothes, didn't drop off any bottles, nothing.
Wow.
And in the state of Montana, men are not allowed to have their kids. If they can't be with the mom and the dad, then they need to be with the mom. If they can't be with the mom, then they get put in a foster home or to adoption. At that time, that was 2001.
Insane. Insane.
Wow.
The other issue is I had family members in Kentucky tried to get them, and Montana said no, we don't like to give them to family members because at that time my ex-wife and I were still married, so they didn't want to give me custody because they said that what would stop me from taking her back and putting my child in danger. They wouldn't let any of my family members have them because they said that after the Children's Services stepped out, what would stop them from giving me custody? So they adopted my daughter out. And I never got to go to court. I never signed off my rights, nothing. Never even got to fight it. They said that if I did try to come up and fight it, that they would have my son removed from me also because I was a father and I should be working to support my family, not raising children.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, the system was against men back then.
And what state were you in at the time again?
I was in Texas at that time.
Oh, wow.
So I went to Children's Services that raised me, to the caseworker that raised me, and she got to see my son, and they were trying to help me. And Montana said, well, if Texas signed off, then maybe I could get custody of my child, but I lived in Texas, so that was probably going to be a no-no. And they said that I would have to have a mental health evaluation. Well, in Houston, they said that would be 3 weeks till I could get in for one. Montana said no, I had 5 days.
Oh, wow.
They said I had to have a parenting class. They said the next parenting class started in 2 weeks. Montana said nope, he has 5 days. So the deck was stacked against me. But she just had a baby December 2022. No, 2023. She had a baby, but she won't have anything to do with me. So,
Oh, Patrick.
but yeah, so it's, it's hard because I get envious when single moms talk and when you moms talk about y'all's experiences and stuff. It's because kind of wish I had some of those. you know, I mean, I didn't have mom or dad. I didn't have, I didn't have any of that. But I did raise my son. He's at work right now. Today was his day off, but he
Yeah.
went in. He went in at 9 a.m. and went in. Got called in at 11, worked till 2, and then came home. Was like, I'm gonna finish the rest of my day off. Poured himself a drink, and they called him back at 5:30 and said, "Can you come in?" So he ended up working a split on his day off, but and then it's also hard. I'm sorry I talked so much in chat and everything. It's just we're new here.
Mm-hmm.
We moved here February. well, last week of January, and it took us 2 days to find an apartment. And thanks to Domestic Crisis Center, they put us in a hotel. For a year, we'd been living in our car because we couldn't find any help. I only get $700 a month on disability, and my son's only getting 15 hours a week. So $300 with my 700 doesn't help. They kicked us off the food stamps because we make $50 too much before taxes and everything. But they put us in a hotel. 2 days later, we had an apartment. But because I'm disabled, I live in elderly apartments. You know, I only pay $90 a month for rent, but $250 for electric. But what I kind of stopped saying it. We started going to churches and stuff, and then March 30th happened, and my son and I was like, "Where did we move to?" We kind of stayed shut off from everybody because, yeah,
Yeah.
we moved to Guyman. We live in Guyman, and it was like some some people, some YouTubers, some people were saying everybody knows everything. Be careful, it's dangerous, etc., etc. And I don't need any problems, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't know who to talk to, who it was safe to talk to, etc. And we just now started getting back out, you know, and talking. But you know, and I'm sorry, I'll probably repeat some of this in the next live because my brain, I don't have short term memory. I only have long term. I have
That's
to,
all right.
pardon?
That's okay.
I have to have medication produced to produce the chemical that your brain produces to control your moods because that part of my brain was damaged. And brain surgery 5 years ago didn't help to
Oh,
replace my carotid artery.
you've been through the ringer, to say the least, Patrick.
Yeah, but
Quite honestly.
the doctors told me being an ex-bull rider probably saved my life because when I started riding bulls, my hero was Lane Frost, who I met twice before I started riding. And I was always taught you fight through the pain, you know, keep going. And that saved my life.
That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Well,
And
you brought the chat kid to complete standstill. They're all paying attention to you.
sorry, I'm not shaved. My son has to shave me because I have Parkinson's disease because of the brain damage. So I cut myself if I try to say shave, I cut myself.
You
So
are just fine. No worries there.
and it's hard when you move somewhere and you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
You know absolutely nobody, and you know. Uh, sorry, that was my Great Dane barking.
Well, you don't have to apologize on this channel. This is not about apologies. It's just about being you. So just keep doing as you're doing. We don't need to. Bianca said it too. There's no need to be sorry here. You don't talk too much. You don't add too much. You are just fine the way you are. So no worries there.
Well, and I don't know. I guess don't take my views as a man's view, but as a kid who went through abuse, my mom, my dad tried to kill me when I was 3, and my mom tried to kill me when I was 7. So
Wow.
yeah, you know, it's and I've got a college degree. I mean, when my son was 3, I was in college,
That's
and
awesome.
but I can't work anymore, so because of my accident. But I'm a certified CAD drafting technician in mechanical, architectural, and civil engineering,
Oh, wow.
as well as a certified industrial radiographer, X-ray, radioactive X-ray on pipe welds and stuff, welding inspector basically.
That's amazing, Patrick. That's awesome.
But it was cheaper to raise my son working on a ranch because I worked on a cattle ranch. I made $1,100 a month, and when I fell, my son was from the age 4 all the way up, he was able to, when I picked him up from the school bus stop, I picked him up with an extra horse if we were working cattle that day, or if we was in the tractor, I picked him up in the tractor. You know, I lived where I worked and he got to go with me, and, you know, and then when I fell, police had to go to the school and tell him his dad had died and he needed to come say goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah. He showed up and I was alive again, but I died 15 times that day and I've died 15 times since. So
Oh, wow.
they keep bringing me back for some reason.
There must be a reason.
But now on some of the co-parenting issues you guys talk about,
Yeah.
I do understand that because, like I said, a lot of my ex-girlfriends have been single moms. Number one, their dads didn't like me because I didn't take no crap off of them. I mean, I've survived riding bulls. I've survived streets on Houston, Texas, and South Houston, which I'm the wrong color for the neighborhood I grew up in, on the streets.
Yeah.
And then I've had cancer twice, fell off a windmill. I've had my second ex-wife push me down a flight of stairs.
I get the feeling you're the immortal one, Patrick. I feel like there's a 9 Lives cat vibe to you.
Hold that. Yeah.
I'll let her take that as a compliment.
Whatever fountain you're drinking from, you need to let us know where the trough is at, because I feel like all of us want a shot from it.
But it's
Whatever's
just,
working right now.
Yeah.
but I'm just smoking a cigarette. I'm not going to say I didn't used to do things when I was younger, which I did.
Yeah.
I am a recovered drug addict. I am a recovered alcoholic. I mean, a lot of people don't realize.
Both. Those are difficult to overcome.
Well, I didn't want to feel any pain when I came off the bull.
Yep.
And people say I'm crazy. Well, yeah, I rode bulls for a living. I mean, nobody does that sane. I mean, but it's, I guess one good thing is my son and I have actually rode. I tried to do a comeback when he was little, and right before my accident, 2 months before I fell, my son and I competed in 2 rodeos together
Oh,
against
wow.
each other. He won one, I won the other one. So we do have that memory. And then 2 months later, I fell. That was the end. But I've had, like, my parenting is different than other people's parenting. Like, my son didn't have bedtime. My son liked WWE. So we would watch Monday Night Raw, which in some of the places where we lived, that would last for till like 2 a.m., 1 a.m., you know. So as long, and him and I always had this rule was he wouldn't have a bedtime as long as I didn't have to get him up in the morning and get him ready for work or ready for school, you know. So I'd be at the barn feeding the calves and stuff, bottle feeding or whatever, and checking the heifers. He'd be up there taking a shower, getting ready, fixing breakfast, and getting ready for work or school. So as long as he did that and his grades kept up, he had no bedtime. Now, unfortunately, half the exes that I've had that had kids, their kids were autistic. But at the same time, it's like they would yell at my son to clean his room. But if I told their kids to go clean their room, they go, no, I'll do it for them. You know, um, if my son would get yelled at by them for his grades, theirs would. If I said anything about their grades, don't worry, I'll do it for them. You know, and it was like I don't know if it's the nurturing side that I'm missing, where I didn't baby my son.
Right. Right.
I mean, I was an ex bull rider. I mean, he fell and broke his arm at 2 years old, and I'm sitting there going, All right, get up. Dry the tears, cowboy up. Come on, get back up. Dry those tears. And then everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, all right, come here, let me kiss your boo boo. I mean,
That's awesome.
I couldn't, that was beyond me, it's like, get back up, come on, dry it off, get back up. And, it was like they did not like me telling their kids to wash the dishes or telling their kids to do chores. But my son had to do chores. Theirs didn't. And so there was conflict in that. Um, their ex-husbands would tell their kids that they had to follow rules at their house, but they didn't have to follow rules at our house.
Yeah.
Now, they had to follow their dad's rules even at our house, but not our rules. So if they were grounded at their dad's house, they'd come here and I'm like, you didn't do anything to get grounded here for, unless you do something to get grounded here, then, I'll ground you. But you haven't done anything. He already took your phone. I can't take your phone away from you. It's at his house. What do you mean you're not allowed to be on the phone? I don't have your phone. But it did cause problems, in the relationships
Right.
because I raised my son. I mean, they told my son, all right, it's 8 o'clock, time for bed. And he's like, huh?
What is
Wait, what?
that?
I can't
We
watch
don't
Monday
do that.
Night Raw with my dad. You know, he's like, I've never had a bedtime before. And even in high school, he got a job. He worked till 1 o'clock at night when the McDonald's closed. He'd come home 4 a.m. in the morning, get up, get a shower, walk to wrestling practice at 5 a.m. At 6:30 a.m., walk to the school for football practice. At 7 a.m., he was in the cafeteria for breakfast, and then go to school all day, and then do football practice in the afternoon. Come home, take care of me, go to work, and then come home at 1 a.m. again. You know, so and he did that all on his own. I didn't have to wake him up. Some of my ex girlfriend's kids, you had to take a water blaster and blast them awake in the morning
Oh my gosh.
because they did not want to wake up, and then they fight with you until you were late getting them to school. But
No.
it's that I guess the biggest thing is, it's nobody thinks about the kids, what the kids see, what they hear, what they feel. You know, as a child going through the things I went through, I didn't have a voice. I wasn't able to say anything.
Yeah.
Nobody would listen anyway. My mom was a school teacher. So who's going to believe that a school teacher could do anything bad?
Right. Right. Well,
They
I'm gonna slow you down there because we're at 90 minutes and we try to keep the lives to 90 to keep people interested and keep them around. But Patrick, thank you
I didn't
for
mean to chase
coming.
everybody off.
No, you're good. You're good. I just want to keep people at the. I've tried to listen to 4-hour lives. They're hard. I want to try to keep it at a regular time frame. So, but I am so glad you came up, though. I'm so glad that you clicked the link and you joined us up here because you're the first. We've had one do it before. We weren't officially launched at that time. We have one guy that joined us before, and we will have him back as well. But I hope that you'll come back and come up on panel and talk with us again, Patrick, because you've got a lot of experience and you're always active in the chat. You always have something to contribute. So I hope that you'll make this a regular habit for us because it's very enjoyable to have you up here with us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We'll go back in the chat now.
Okay, you go back in the chat, but you keep coming back to the channel. Don't leave me. Don't leave us. Us, not me, us. There's more than me here. And she's close
Oh,
up
and
to
this hat's 20 years old. So
good. Good. So Yeah, come back up with us. Don't stop here, Patrick. When we're so happy to have you. Um, so anything to add on to that? He kind of taught us
Yeah,
all. He's kind of on top of it.
I'm good. Yeah.
Kathy, what do you think? You're muted, mute.
You can resonate with a lot of things he was saying. So
Yeah.
it was good stuff.
Absolutely. So I do want to continue the parenting chat, but I want to kind of take a break and let all of that sink in. And with next week being the Tuesday before Halloween, so we'll go live again on Tuesday. I want to do something Halloweeny.
Oh, I have ideas.
I've got a couple. I've got somebody I know is a medium that may be able to come on.
Ooh, that would
And
be fun.
yes. She's also a paranormal hunter. I know another paranormal hunter that I'd love to bring on and let them kind of debate out their methods and their beliefs. And I kind of want to open the chat up just to a whole paranormal medium. Cash. Cash, I have a list if you're ready to go for me, sweetheart. But let's have some Halloween fun on Shenanigans. What do you guys think?
I love this.
So I will contact my medium friend. I write for the local paper here in Derby. I'm a freelance writer. And so I'm in a couple of publications, and I got to interview this lady, and she did agree to come on as a guest for us. And so I'll double check with her to see if Tuesday works. She couldn't come on this week, but the timing worked out. And so I don't know if she'll do any reading. She's not that kind of medium, but she has some interesting insight that I want everybody to hear and get. I want to hear everybody's feedback. So join us next Tuesday. I don't know if the crew will make me go at 7:15, 7:30, but sometime between 7 and 7:30. And let's have some Halloween fun. Let's bring the medium on. Let's bring these paranormal hunters on and bring your experiences, your Halloween experiences. I'll put something.
Have them email them to our Gmail account.
Yes.
And then we could read them throughout the podcast.
Yes,
I think that
exactly.
would be awesome.
That would be great. Yeah. Perfect.
Little scary story kind of an evening.
Yes.
I love it.
So you can use the email or the burner number that's going across, and that burner number is an anonymous number unless you tell me who you are. I don't get to know. But send us your stories. Tell us what creepy things. I have a couple myself that I'm going to share. Hopefully the Shenanigans crew does too. We'll bring on the medium and we'll just have some Halloween fun. I'll try to find some spooky background, and I'll make Carrie go into the thing and make some spooky music. We'll just have some Shenanigans fun. I'll go into Facebook and and Shenanigans is also on, we're on Facebook and obviously YouTube. And then we're also on Instagram. The girls are just finding this out because I haven't loaded anything on there. I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's Shenanigan Talks on Instagram, not Facebook, but Instagram. But yeah, let's have some fun. Yes, you can dress up. I'm not dressing up. I am not dressing up.
I will put a witch's hat on your head.
Yeah, haul your ass up here and do it, because I'm just saying I don't dress up very often anymore. It's not what we used to do.
All you need is just like some little cat ears on your head. That's all you need. That's all you need.
God. So God damn her. Gosh darn, I've gotten in trouble a few times because I took the Lord's name in vain, which, okay, fine, whatever. Carrie, help me out. Rocky Horror Picture Show is scary.
I love Rocky Horror Picture.
Get this. Well, I think I muted us. Nope. Yep. Okay, we're good. Cash, get this. So my daughter tells me that the next performance they do for the football home game on the marching band is going to be Time Warp.
Oh, no.
My daughter is going to die. My daughter is going to end up with a concussion at this whole thing. But anyway, so that's what I think I'm going to try to schedule us for, is some paranormal Halloween-y fun activities.
Chick fight.
Margaret's awesome.
I will fight
this. I'm taller than her, but she's faster than I am. But I know how to get her drunk. So I know how to get her. I can get her drunk faster than I do. So I have it's the only N I have, but yeah, let's do that. So use the email, use the burner number, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to all the socials, find us everywhere, and give us your stories. And let's talk about some fun Halloween stuff, the scary stuff, the spooky stuff, the WTF stuff, all of it. Let's just have some fun. And send pictures of Halloween costumes, things that you've done. I'll put those up on all the socials for fun. I'll give you all the credit for it if you want to. Crazy Halloween drinks would be fun. That'll be a challenge for the Shenanigans crew.
Oh, I'll tell you what I do every Halloween.
This is
You're
awesome.
going to have to wait until Tuesday. I'm not going to tell you right now. It's pretty amazing.
It's freaking amazing. I need to do this actually this year. I think that's what I'm going to do. But so that is the assignment, folks. Do we understand the assignment, chat? Hopefully we do. Kathy gets the assignment. Kathy's been on her phone all night long. She's just ignoring us.
I'm actually working. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I have to. It's been a nightmare with my work lately.
Get to my level and let's quit our
So I'm
corporate
answering
jobs and do
emails
something
and I'm
for a
listening.
living.
I'm not totally not listening to everyone.
Cash, you're an ass. I'm just saying. But I like it. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to have some Halloween fun. I am going to grab a couple of my guy friends too to see if they will join the chat. I think that will make it all the more interesting. I doubt we'll get Bo or Eric on, but that would be so much fun.
No.
That's okay. Jerks. Eric too, but that's okay. Eventually.
Yeah. Not for Halloween though.
Bo
He's a scaredy cat.
I know Bo is too. He would never come up here and he would not be happy if he hears me saying that. So thankfully he doesn't listen to me to know that. But in the meantime, you guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for Patrick for coming up and bearing his soul and his experiences. Patrick has always been very open and very transparent with his experiences and his thoughts. And he's always spot on too. Every time he corrects me and Carrie on the true crime side, he nails it. We end up telling him he's right. So thank you, Patrick, for joining us tonight. That is awesome. And I hope you guys will take a lesson from him and just come onto the panel with us and openly talk. You don't have to turn on your camera. Tomorrow night, as long as Carrie's feeling up for it, she wasn't feeling super hot tonight, but we should have Carrie Moody True Crime on tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, I think. I have no idea what we're talking about. She's probably told me, but I've forgotten. I work too much. And then I think we go live on Thursday night as well with True Crime. But in the meantime, I'm so glad Kathy was here. And Katie we have Katie for like a solid hour. And then she jumps ship every time. Like she's got that little dinghy boat. She rides along and then
she Irish goodbyes us.
Yeah, she does. Like, gotta go, love it. And she's just gone. I'm like, where's she going? And I check the private chat. She's like, gotta go. Sorry. I'm like, you're not sorry. You're good. You're slick. There's a difference. But I'm glad we have our crew tonight. Bronwyn is getting pretty sideways. She's like, when Tuesdays and Thursdays are not good for me. Only Wednesdays. I'm like, will they ever be good for you? Because I can't. You're the lone stranger on this one, but Bronwyn is the.
Join the chat.
So I need to tell her that to get in the chat. But Bronwyn's the other component to this group. Currently the silent component, but she's got kid stuff going on, and so once that airs out a little bit with the season change, she will be joining us. But she's pretty freaking awesome. She's got all the morgue stories, so. Thank you, Bianca. She's putting up all the links on there to Carrie Moody. You throw up Shenanigans Facebook page while you're at it. Eventually, Bianca, I will show you the Instagram page. And then as much as it kills me, the X or Twitter page, whatever the hell we're calling it. But thank you guys all for being here. I'm excited for next week. Come in your best costumes. Come on panel. And let's do some spooky stuff. In the meantime, you guys have a good week. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Bye.